Let's go live now to Greg Sheridan, foreign editor at the Australian newspaper for, well, what's going on around the globe. A few of the familiar big issues, Greg Sheridan. Thank you for your time. We've got House Democrats voting to send impeachment reports to the Judiciary Committee. So what are we talking about here in terms of the process?
Well, it's entirely partisan now, Tom. I think it's become a kind of a kabuki play. Nothing will change. There's no new information. The Democrats will vote for impeachment, probably. Then there'll be a Senate trial at some point. The Republicans will vote to acquit the president. The Democrats get to beat up on the president during the House process. The Republicans will get to beat up on the Democrats in the Senate process. I think this is an abusive process. I think Trump behaved poorly in the Ukraine, but there's nothing suggested which remotely rises to the level of something for which you should throw an elected president out of office for the first time in the history of the United States. I mean, presidents having wacky and somewhat unsatisfactory conversations with their foreign interlocutors goes back to the first presidency. I mean, this, in my opinion, this is quite grotesque. It has maybe marginally damaged Trump. I don't think it's going to be decisive one way or the other in the campaign, and the Senate Republicans will get a chance to beat up on the Democrats if it gets to trial in the Senate.
Well, you mentioned they're damaging Trump. Of course, that looks forward to the next presidential race. Kamala Harris dropping out, not known as a front runner. Any surprise here at all?
Yeah, it's a bit of a surprise. She was very widely supported when she entered the race. She did very well in one of the first debates. And it just shows you can't design a candidate. She was an impressive senator. She had all the identity politics boxes ticked. She's a woman of colour. And she had been a prosecutor and an attorney general in California. And if the Democrats were choosing to move a little bit closer to the centre, that might have been good. She decided, though, to run away from her record and run on the left, and she never really ignited much passion. But the reason she's pulling out is not because her polling is still low, but because she can't raise enough money, and that's an unsatisfactory element of American politics. On the other hand, it does reflect her lack of support. She couldn't get an army of small-time donors in the way Bernie Sanders can, and Elizabeth Warren, and a number of the other candidates.
Yeah, look, the money part is you've got to have a whole stack, don't you, just to be even vaguely competitive. Fascinating machinations in the House in the US. So that they've got legislation now targeting people in China over mistreatment of Uighurs, coming on the back of other legislation around Hong Kong. Not surprisingly, the Chinese not happy.
Yes, this will prevent any American firm from selling any technology which can be used to suppress the Uyghurs, and I think it will also pave the way, although the House and Senate legislation have not been reconciled. It'll be a little bit like the Hong Kong legislation, where if there are persistent abuses of human rights in Xinjiang, the Congress might take targeted sanctions at Chinese individuals. This is a very bad sign for China-US relations. I think it's a perfectly justified move by the US Congress, but China has been careless of its international reputation to the point now where the Congress, quite independent of anything Trump might say or do, is imposing this sanctions-threatening legislation in respect of Hong Kong and Xinjiang. And Trump couldn't veto it even if he wanted to, because with a two-thirds majority, Congress can override a presidential veto. This reflects very poorly on the way China has managed these big issues and the reputation which it has justly earned for itself in the US Congress.
Yeah, well, exactly. On the case of the Uyghurs, no, I don't think sympathy for a lot of people on there being consequences. It is interesting, as you point out, that whatever Donald Trump wants to do himself in this ongoing attempt at some sort of deal on trade, that this is something that happens regardless. Hey, just finally, Greg, I wanted to ask you about some interesting goings-on in the British election. So you've got Brexit campaigners urging voters to vote Green in seats that Conservatives might win, and then you've got the Brexit Party in seats that Labor might lose. You've got Leave campaigners urging a vote there for the Brexit Party to split the Conservative vote. Can you make sense of all this for me?
Yeah, there's a wonderful story in the Australian and from the Times originally. So third-party bodies, this is why you can't effectively ban money in politics, because third-party organisations outside the main parties will just do it if the parties can't. So there was this, touching, heartfelt, pathetic picture of Greta Thunberg, looking like she was going to burst into tears and so on, and the caption something like, "I can't do anything, but you can do something, vote Green." And this apparently struck a chord in the hearts of many British voters and saw a surge in support for Green candidates. But of course, the Greens will elect at most 1 or 2 MPs, and the primary effect of their vote will be to take votes from Labor and help Conservatives win individual seats. Meanwhile, in seats that Conservatives might take from Labor, another third-party organisation, which is actually in favour of Remain, is running advertisements saying, "Nigel Farage says if Johnson gets his deal through, we will have lost Brexit forever. This is a surrender deal," and so on. So they are hoping to encourage Conservative voters in those marginal seats to vote Brexit in the hope that that will take enough votes away from the Conservatives that they won't win seats from Labor. Now, I don't know what you can do about this in a democracy. I guess all you can do about it is what the Times and the Australian have done, which is publish it and, let the public notice. And on which point, Tom, I tell you there's a big story in the Australian about China tomorrow too.
Oh, all right, fascinating. I enjoyed the tease, as they say in the TV business, Greg Sheridan. We'll look out for that. Look, the UK part is fascinating. I guess it's the first past the post element we don't have here. Maybe it'll mean those TV ads will read the authorised by even more quickly than they normally do, just to make sure no one knows where the money's coming from. Greg Sheridan, thank you.